Wars may be fought with weapons, but they are won by men. It is the spirit of the men who follow and of the man who leads that gains the victory.
U.S. General George Patton. The multiple advancements in weaponry and technology were only part of the reason there were so many casualties in World War II. The weapons paled in comparison to the destructive capabilities of propaganda and the power of words used during the war. Weapons cause pain, suffering, and death, but weapons don't just fire themselves. During World War II, the necessity for weapons grew. The need for more weapons helped make the U.S. one of the largest industrial producers in the world. Heavy tanks were being made at the start of the war, and many American aircrafts were being produced during this time. Not only were there multiple types of aircrafts, but most of them were being mass-produced. This war was unlike any other before. It was mainly fought in the air, meaning both the Allies and the Axis had to have strong air power. One of the greatest matchups in the sky was the American F-4F Wildcat against the Japanese Zero. The Wildcat was better constructed and had more firepower, helping lead America to victory. When it comes to the war on the ground, many Americans' weapon of choice was the M1 Garand self-loading automatic service rifle. Similar to the M1 Garand was the M1 carbine used by mounted troops and specialist soldiers who needed a shortened barrel. The M1 carbine was the most produced small arm in America. About 6,500,000 examples were produced. Other weapons, such as the atomic bomb and the Navajo Code, were also seen in World War II. Overall, the Allies caused over 16.5 million deaths. As Soviet leader Joseph Stalin said,
"One death is a tragedy. A million deaths is a statistic."
This high death count wasn't caused by the new and improved weapons. Someone had to be giving the orders. New weapons such as the Gewehr-98 along with older weapons, for example U-boats, were also being used on the German side. The Gewehr-98 was the standard German infantry rifle and was one of the most produced firearms, numbering at over 5 million. The MG-42 was the primary machine gun used by the Germans during the war. The Axis caused over 100 million deaths. Was there any need for so many casualties? The advancements in weaponry and technology caused many casualties and deaths, but Hitler was the reason that the people wanted to use the weapons. If he hadn't brainwashed Germans into thinking that they deserved all of Europe for living space, no destruction would have taken place, thus causing no reason for the weapons to be used. Without his powerful words and speeches, Hitler would have never made Germany feel a sense of unity and create a mob mentality among them. This mindset made them do so much damage. Even the many improvements of weapons and technology couldn't overcome the power that totalitarianism had over its people and the many weapons it was able to create. Fear and propaganda were the two major things that stirred up World War II. This piece of American propaganda was used to try and recruit young men for the American military. Through its bright colors and portraying the airmen as strong and powerful, the military is seen as glorified. The audience that this was directed towards was young men 17 to 18 years old. By making the young man the pilot and showing him in a position of power, it was used to encourage everyday young men to join the military. Using loaded language, for example, freedom, responsibility, and fighter, makes the reader feel a sense of patriotism and togetherness. This poster was also used to try and make the people on the home front do more to support the war effort and do their part. Using a picture of a dead soldier makes the reader feel sorry and encourages them to do more. Through the weapon of words and propaganda, hundreds of thousands of people joined the war movement and assisted in killing millions of people. Even the people that fought and were wounded were encouraged to do all they could to help America end World War II. The strength and happiness of the soldier shows that he was happy with his decision to fight and that he knows his job is not yet completed. Using brother, the soldier feels like they aren't alone and that they are still part of the military family. By being able to portray these things and making the audience feel what the artist was trying to say, posters like these were able to make people join into the massacre that was World War II. Through the eyes of a Norwegian artist, America is seen as both beautiful and dangerous. Not only does it show the weapons that America used and the wealth and freedom of our country, it is also showing the destruction it is capable of. After the U.S. got involved in World War I, the war ended. The same was sure to happen if America got involved again. This poster was attempting to warn people about what was to come and to try and prevent it. As Hitler said,
"All propaganda has to be popular, and has to accommodate itself to the comprehension of the least intelligent of those whom it seeks to reach."
By using propaganda, Hitler and other totalitarian governments were able to control everything that the people and countries saw and were able to control their emotions. This allowed them to take over people's everyday lives, thus making propaganda one of the largest and most important weapons both sides had. The power of words was the most powerful weapon the Germans had. Even though the intentions of Hitler were evil, he was able to move millions of people with just his words. He was able to convince people of his power and manipulate them. The cheering of these masses of people wasn't brought on by just the love of fighting for their nation, but by the words he spoke. Through loaded language and the passion in his voice, Hitler could convince people to do what he thought was right for the country. Although the weapons killed millions, it was the words and the propaganda that made the people want to use the weapons. It was who was saying the words and how they were being said that made them such a fighting force in World War II. Through Hitler's capabilities to mold people's minds using propaganda and through the force of his words, he was able to brainwash the people of Germany into murdering millions of innocents. Thankfully, in 1945, the Germans surrendered, and on April 30th, Hitler's words were put to rest forever.